Queer lit, no chill, some crumbs of academia, mostly chaos. If queer books are your love language, we're fluent. And this week, we're talking all things ghosts, rivers, and generational trauma. Kate Alice Marshall's The Narrow is sapphic gothic meets family dysfunction with a haunting that's as much emotional as it is supernatural. Today, we're diving into obsession, manipulation, grief, and why sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who say they love you. Quick content note before we get started. This episode will include spoilers, and we will be talking about drug abuse, depression, physical and emotional abuse, manipulative relationships, and gaslighting. Please take care of yourself as you listen, and feel free to skip, pause, or come back later if you need to. We see you, and you're not alone. And with that, let's wade into the water. Welcome to Cliterature, the podcast. Hello, we're back. It's episode 3. We're stoked. My name is Haley.
My name is Dee.
And this is Cliterature, the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for coming back, listening again.
We're so excited to be talking about this book.
Yeah, spooky.
Spooky. Just disassociated.
We both just stared off into space. For those of you getting the bonus content, I really wish you could have seen us.
We were like spooky and then just stared into the distance. I guess we were thinking about all the spooky shit that we just read.
It was a lot of spooky shit to think about. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. The Narrow, Kate Alice Marshall. I love Kate Alice Marshall. Is this the first time you've read her?
Yes. I've never read this book before I read it for this episode.
Okay.
And holy crap.
Yeah. No, I love Kate Alice Marshall. Almost every single one of her books has queer rep. And so I could have chosen any of them and we could have read it for our podcast. But I really love a boarding school setting.
Oh, you know I'm all about some weird, spooky boarding school, especially if it's not an all-girl situation in this case, but
True.
Bonus points if it is.
Yeah.
And like haunted, so good. I went to a haunted school, so I'm always going to love that kind of situation.
I didn't, but I mean, it sounds really fun. I'm always up for spooky shit.
I really liked this one a lot, so thanks for suggesting it.
You're welcome. We have to read more because I really, really love her. If you guys have not read any Kate Alice Marshall, you can't go wrong. She also writes middle grade, so you could get your kids hooked early. I don't know. Yeah, I've never read any of the middle grade, but all of her YA and like adult fiction, so good. And most of it is spooky. So if you like this one, you'll like the others.
Yeah, I definitely read it during the day. This was not like a before the bed situation that I was reading. I had to have a palate cleanser for nighttime, but I plowed through this one so fast. It was very good. And I'm anxious to read more of her stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah. So I'll read the summary
Love it.
Here. Everyone has heard the story of the Narrow. The river that runs behind the Atwood school is only a few feet across and seemingly placid. But beneath the surface, the waters are deep and vicious. It's said that no one who has fallen in has ever survived. Eden White knows that isn't true. 6 years ago, she saw Delphine Fournier fall into the Narrow and live. Delphine now lives in careful isolation, sealed off from the world. Even a single drop of unpurified water could be deadly to her, and no one but Eden has any idea why. Eden hasn't told anyone what she saw and hasn't spoken to Delphine since. But now, unable to cover her tuition, she has to make a deal. Her expenses will be paid in return for serving as a living companion to Delphine. Eden finds herself drawn to the strange and mysterious girl, and the two of them begin to unravel each other's secrets. Then Eden discovers what happened to the last girl who lived with Delphine. She was found half drowned on dry land. Suddenly, Eden is waking up to wet footprints tracking to the end of her bed, the sound of rain on the windows when the skies are clear, and a ghostly silhouette in her doorway. Something is haunting Delphine, and now it's coming for Eden too.
It's so great.
Dude, the wet footprints.
Right? Let's just talk about the drowning girl. Yeah. Right? Okay, so the ghost that haunts Atwood School, they call her the drowning girl. And it's because she is all wet. She leaves footprints behind. They think that it's somebody who was drowned in the Narrow. Every time I heard the drowning girl, or like they were describing seeing the drowning girl, I always pictured the chick from The Ring.
Yeah.
Like the chick crawling out of the well with
some
like
creepy, sopping wet.
Yeah. I don't want to see that standing at my bedside.
And the details of the description of the drowning girl.
Yeah.
Later on, once people get a good look at her, once Eden gets a good look at her, is just
terrifying,
but so good. The details of like her hair behind her looking like it's floating in water when she's just standing there is so creepy to me.
I want to see it. Somebody needs to make this a show or a movie.
It has to, somebody's got to pick this up.
It's just, it would be so good. And
the fan casting ideas for this,
yeah, I didn't look into that.
I didn't either, but I've got like...
You've got ideas? I
feel like there could be people who could fit these descriptions.
Okay, let's think about it and talk about it at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking in the back of my mind about who I would cast as Eden. Okay, so Eden is our main character. We love Eden. She is quiet, and I mean, she's at boarding school. Most of these kids are affluent. They come from money because, you know, boarding schools are expensive, right? She's been going to Atwood since she was 11, like 10 or 11.
A little.
Yeah, a little is what they call the little ones, and they all take care of the littles when they're older, which is super sweet because you hear all these terrible stories about hazing and like the new kids coming in and it being an awful experience. But apparently at Atwood, they really take care of their littles, which is so sweet. But there's this rite of passage that happens before school start every year. And all of the older kids, the upperclassmen, they go into the woods and they jump the Narrow.
Which the Narrow is described, it's a river that runs behind the school. And it's called the Narrow because instead of widening at this point, the water has eroded downward. So this normal water level has a sudden drop off, which causes the water to almost be like an underwater waterfall and churn, which is why they say anything that goes in doesn't come back out because it's pushed down by all that water falling into this now deep
and get stuck in the rocks.
Right.
Anybody who falls in gets stuck in the rocks, so they never come out.
And they describe it as like, not only are you drowning, but you're being pummeled against these rocks. So you're being physically beaten up by the river as well as drown in it. So the descriptions are pretty creepy anyway of just
we don't want to fall into the Narrow, but they jump the Narrow before school starts every year. And if you don't jump the Narrow, then you have bad luck or something like that. It's some kind of folklore, just a tale that they do. And so when Eden and Veronica, her bestie, started at Atwood, they were littles and they snuck out of their rooms at night and they went down to the Narrow and they wanted to jump the Narrow like the older upperclassmen did. And there was a third little that was in their like pod,
Eden's
their
roommate?
room. Yeah, Eden's roommate. And her name was Delphine and she wanted to be friends with them. And so she followed them down to the Narrow and Eden and Veronica didn't know she was there. They held hands and jumped together and made it to the other side. But when they turned around, they saw little Delphine had followed them and she jumps and doesn't make it and falls into the Narrow and gets immediately sucked under. And they're terrified. And
they're just distraught. Like they kind of shut down and don't know what to do.
Yeah, because they're little themselves. Yeah. And so they go back to the school.
And then she's standing there.
Dripping wet.
Delphine is.
Delphine is in the dorms. Like she beat them back.
She doesn't say anything. They take care of her. They put her to bed. Mm-hmm. She goes to breakfast the next morning and just collapses.
Yeah. And ever since then, she's not been able to touch any water unless it's distilled water in its own like water filtration system at Abigail House, which is where she lives now
her
on
mom
campus.
Basically pays to retrofit this house on campus to be Delphine safe, and
she's like the boy in the bubble.
Yeah, she's definitely
in the house
in a bubble, and she's lived there since she was 11, and they're now seniors. They're like 18-ish,
and they've never told. Veronica and Eden never told anyone what happened.
People just think that Delphine collapsed for no reason,
and they don't understand what's wrong with her.
Doctors can't explain it. And she's lived in this isolation. Eden ends up living in Abigail House. Delphine's mom has been sponsoring a girl, basically paying the tuition and a stipend or room and board for a companion for Delphine, to someone to live in Abigail House.
So that she's not alone.
Right. So she's not alone. And due to some circumstances with her family, Eden gets to school and realizes that her parents never paid her tuition and won't. And
they're on vacation. Nobody can get in touch with them.
They can't be bothered.
Right.
So the principal, basically, the dean, Mr. Oster, decides to, basically, he 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 decides to, makes a proposition. They need someone to step in because Delphine's former companion drowned almost. And had
mysteriously had a mysterious accident.
Was walking
with water,
and fell into a pool
that she would have had to climb a fence to get into.
Yeah, it's all very sketch. But basically, the story is she almost drowned. She couldn't return to school, and they need someone to be the companion.
Right.
So they offered the job to Eden in return to take care of her tuition. So she's now moving in to live in the same house as a girl she watched fall into the Narrow and somehow live.
Yeah, and has never spoken to again. Like, has never spoken to her since
Nobody
that
has.
night. Nobody has, because she's been in that house.
Except
in
for
her bubble.
The companion who was living with her.
Right.
And so Eden's moving into this house. And the procedures just to get in alone.
Extremely stringent.
It's very much almost like a biohazard lab kind of thing.
Yeah,
There's
you have to shower beforehand,
things,
and there's locks, and you have to wear sweats. Like, it was...
because you can't bring any moisture into the house. So you have to shower and then dry off completely. There's a lot of rules. One of the rules, too, the house is set up. Delphine lives upstairs.
Right.
And Eden has a space downstairs, along with like a suite that belongs to Delphine's mom, because she comes and stays sometimes. But Eden's given very, very strict instructions to keep the door that goes upstairs to Delphine's quarters locked at night or at all times.
Yeah, she can't get out.
Well, you don't know if they're keeping Delphine in or something.
Well, they say don't let the water in.
But
so
that was really creepy to me, just how much they stressed you have to keep that door locked. And I even wrote, when I was reading the book, I wrote to keep Delphine in or something out. Like, it was
like, what is this door? Why is it locked?
It was just so much emphasis put on keeping that door locked.
Yeah, you find out later that it's because Delphine sleepwalks. Supposedly. She sleepwalks, and they will like catch her at the bottom of the stairs, like screaming, I have to get to her. I have to get to her. Like, I have to go back. I have to go back.
But if she leaves and gets out there,
she dies.
She'll die.
Because of the water.
Also, I was real confused at the very beginning of this because it starts with Eden coming back to campus from summer break and finding all this out about her tuition and moving into this house and being reunited with her friends. She has a very tight friend group of 3 other girls, one being Veronica, who has been her friend since day one. But she's nursing some injuries and not letting anybody know about it.
Right, yeah.
And she's not really talking a lot about it. You don't really know how she got these injuries. You just know that they happened over the summer.
In the beginning.
And they seem to be somewhat severe.
Yeah, like her arm is injured in a way where she has to hold it a specific way or keep reminding herself to hold it so it looks natural because she's trying to hold it so it doesn't hurt.
And she has to sleep with it propped up on pillows. And
she's got bruises all over her body.
And a loose tooth. And we won't go into that because you'll get really gross.
I don't do teeth, guys. Ugh.
It kind of jumped into that with not a lot of explanation. Right. So at the same time, you're getting all this creepy lore about the school. You're hearing about Delphine. She's moving into this house. She's also hiding all of these injuries from everybody.
Right. And you're getting little snippets of her summer and little snippets of like her parents deciding not to pay tuition and her, I don't know. Eden, to me, in the beginning, it sets you up to think that she's mysterious. And like, I don't know if you really like the main character in the very beginning. Like, I like her. And like, you don't really know what emotion to feel because you're like, do I feel sorry for her? Do I think that she's mysterious? Am I intrigued? Am I interested at all? Like
Well, in the descriptions, when they're describing the friend group, she's very much and she even says at times in so many words that she's the boring one of the group. You have Zoya, who's really big into fashion.
And she's a writer.
You've got Ruth, who is super smart and a potential Olympian. You've got Veronica, who is like the it girl and super popular.
Good at everything she does.
Yeah, she's good at everything and comes from an extremely wealthy family. And then you just have Eden, who kind of feels like she's the boring one.
Most of the book is set in Eden's point of view. Like most of the book, you are reading how she's experiencing life, and her perspective and her view of herself is very telling from the very beginning. Like the way she talks about her friends and how I'm not special. She says that multiple times. Like, I'm not special. I'm not anything special. You know, I'm not a writer like Zoya. I'm not, even though she does write. And I'm not an artist like Veronica, even though she is an artist. And like, she hides all of those things.
You find out she has this whole comic book that she's been working on for years. That apparently is really good.
Yeah, because she finally shares it. And I feel like her inner monologue of her and comparing herself to her friends, and also from the very beginning, she tells us that she lies. She's always lied. She lies to her friends because she doesn't want her friends to know about her home life. And she has been lying, even to Veronica, from the very beginning.
So she's created basically this self, this Eden for school that is as perfect as she could possibly get. To not draw attention to herself and fit in with these girls while not giving away what's going on in her actual life.
Right. So do we want to talk about her home life?
Yeah.
Okay. So Eden's parents are neglectful to say the least. They aren't primarily abusive, but neglect for sure. She has a very troubled brother. Her brother is an addict, and he has a lot of other issues that they aren't given a name per se, but he has been violent in the past. He has been arrested. He's on probation.
I think at one point they even say they don't say what, but doctors have given him diagnosis.
Yeah.
And the parents have kind of been like, no, that's not what's going on.
Well, I mean, she even talks about when she finally talks to somebody about her brother, she says she makes excuses for her parents, but she does say like they've tried everything. They've taken him to doctors. They've tried hypnotherapy. They've tried medication. They've tried, all of the things, but the laundry list is so long of all the things that they've tried for him, but the things that they have done for her are, zero.
Like I really started, it's hard. I wanted to from the very beginning. When she started, or when you start learning about her home life, it was easy for me to believe what she was saying, that it wasn't so bad, that it was this way. And then it got to the point where she was talking about when she was little and her brother got violent, that they put a lock on her door. And I was like, what?
Yeah, like they didn't lock him in. They took away her freedom and locked her in for her protection. And I'm saying that with air quotes because I feel like this is just a classic. We're doing this for your own good, but it's not necessarily for her own good instead of dealing with the issue and dealing with the problem.
And I'm sure it was easier to lock her in a room and her not put up a fight about it than to anger him anymore.
Right. Because I do feel like she has taught herself to not make waves and not make problems because her brother is so much of a problem and her parents are dealing with him that they don't have time for her. And maybe she's even taught herself that, I feel like she feels that her needs aren't valid. That she, even if she has the needs, even if she has the feelings, they're going to think about his first and hers don't really matter because that's what she's been taught.
And it could have been that she learned from a young age that expressing those needs wasn't going to get them met. So instead of dealing with the disappointment over and over again, she just learned to internalize it and not express, what she needed. And after doing that for so long, it just retrained her brain to think that they weren't important.
Yeah. And that carried over into school and her relationships with her friends, just feeling like it's easier to lie than be completely honest. I don't want to be a burden. Yeah. Like the feeling of like my emotions would make them run away or make them not want to be around me. Like you don't want to be around the sad girl. You don't want to be around the girl that has issues. You don't want to deal with my problems. You want me to braid your hair and,
listen to what you did all summer and then, And she even says at one point that she'll gloss over and just give really vague short answers when they ask like what she did over breaks and stuff. And they just accept that
Yeah.
and move on. And she listens to them go on and on about their stuff. I really started, I think, seeing a lot of myself in Eden pretty quickly in this book when it comes to the mental health issues.
Yeah.
The, feeling like you're a burden and you don't talk about what you're struggling with and you just internalize it and deal with it yourself or box it up and bottle it away. It's something that I have struggled with a lot and still at times struggle with. I'm happy to help anyone with their problems, but I don't need anything. I'm good kind of thing. And so this book, it was spooky and great and all, but it was definitely hard hitting and hit close to home for me in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, we went into this thinking we were reading about a cute little ghost story. And then I feel like the entire book, the metaphor of drowning in general is just the overarching theme throughout the entire book. Whether the drowning is physically drowning in the narrow or drowning with feelings of depression or drowning, feeling overwhelmed in your home life or your family dynamics and not feeling like you can get out. Those emotions are seen in almost every single character. Well, most of the two main characters for sure.
Yeah.
And we haven't even touched on sapphic relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got so much to cover. This like book, doing a character dive on Eden.
You're like, we're going to read this spooky book about these girls at boarding school. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And I start reading it and I was like, whoa.
I'm feeling a lot of feelings.
Yeah, it's a lot of feels, guys. So it was masterfully written, I feel like, in the layer upon layer upon layer of everything that they touched on. And the complexity of the characters and the journey of self-realization of, especially in Eden.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to talk about Eden personally the most because I did see a lot of myself in her. But the journey was so complex and so, I felt realistic in a book that's about ghosts. To say something's realistic feels weird.
No, for real.
But that part felt very honest and realistic to me. But yeah, the drowning comes up all the time in all the different ways that it possibly can, including physically. Falling into the narrow and drowning.
And drowning. Okay, so let's talk about Eden and Delphine, right? So Eden moves into Abigail's house. She's going to be the companion for Delphine, and she's feeling kind of weird about it because, like we said, she fell into the narrow and then popped back up. And
I think honestly, though, she was a little excited.
I feel like she wanted some answers.
She wanted to see this girl and be like, "Yo, what
the hell happened? How you feeling? Do you remember anything?
Yeah,
like, do you know that you fell into the narrow? Because I know you fell into the narrow.
I know that you fell into the narrow. Do you know that you fell into the narrow? And from the get go, is somewhat like low key obsessed with this girl for good reason, because it's a mysterious situation,
right?
And Delphine is portrayed off the bat as pretty weird. Her social interactions, the way she talks.
Her mother also dresses her like a child. Like, she's 17, 18, they're seniors, and she's wearing like Mary Jane's and like tights and like
collars
the
on the dresses,
baby doll dresses and stuff. Which, Delphine Fournier, her mother is this famous actress who jet sets all over the world to go do movies, but she comes back and she loves her daughter. You can tell that she loves her daughter.
She genuinely loves her.
Genuinely loves her and doesn't know how to help her because doctors don't understand what is wrong with her. And they don't know why she keeps drowning, basically, anytime she leaves the house.
But you've got a girl who has been living in a literal bubble since she was 11.
Yeah.
And has not had any real human contact outside of whatever companion was living there at the time, whatever girl her mom had hired. And talks off the bat, her and Eden both have a conversation very early on in Eden moving in about lying. And how they admit that they both lie. Yeah. All the time.
All the time.
And agree not to lie to each other.
Yeah, that's Delphine's only request.
Yeah,
never lie to me.
And Eden's all too happy.
It's easy. I feel like getting rid of the burden of having to create something that is nice and shiny, like she does for her friends.
She created a whole different person, basically.
The fact that she can just be and say exactly what she's thinking and not hide anything, the freedom and the weight that must lift off of her shoulders. So no wonder she loves spending time with Delphine. She stopped spending so much time with her friends. She starts spending much more time with Delphine. She starts looking at her in a different way and really enjoys her time there. But not only is she just enjoying the freedom of being completely and totally honest, she's also encountering the drowning girl. And she keeps coming back to the house and she finds Aubrey's journal in...
Aubrey was the previous companion
right,
who
that
almost
had,
drowned.
Yeah, like dry drown on the front porch. But she finds her journal and it says Grace in the journal. It's like, it's water. It's
so there's
full of water. It's waterlogged, but...
of it is smeared, but there's random words that she can read. It says
Grace. It says don't let her in. And a few other things, but it's like a bunch of random. So she's trying to figure out who the drowning girl is. She thinks that the drowning girl is someone named Grace.
Right.
And the more that she interacts with this ghost, the more clear the ghost becomes. Like the less, like when she shows up in the beginning, she's got like a broken leg that she's dragging and like her fingers are all gnarled and
she
broken.
Broken.
And her eye has a giant, like blood vessel broken in it, and like she can't speak. She like gurgles, and she just like gurgles water, which sounds terrible. So she's just a broken, awful.
The description the
scary,
first time that Eden sees her is one that you will never forget.
Just a really scary ghost, guys.
Yeah.
really
scary. Wet, scary broken ghost.
Yeah. Ugh. And she's trying to communicate with her, and Eden is really interested. She's not terrified. I mean, she's scared.
Props to Eden. She was like, bring it on,
I feel like she's trying to speak to me instead of like, get the fuck out.
I like, would have probably perished.
Yeah, I would have been like,
spot.
I'm sorry, tuition is not worth this. I will not be staying in Abigail House.
Out.
Pop up a tent outside if I need to. There's no freaking way I'm
I'll
staying
go
in
to
here
public
with the
school,
ghost.
guys. Thing.
But let's also be honest. Like, I'm like, can we like pull some tarot cards or like have a seance? Which they do have a seance
they end
later.
Up having the seance,
but sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But anytime she touches Eden, all of her wounds, all of her
injuries that she came back to school with
from the summer, from this like traumatic experience in the summer that she's trying to hide from her friends, they are re-injured.
Yeah.
Like her arm is re-broken, or
that was healing is now worse than it was.
Her tooth that was loose that had gotten falls out. It falls out in the sink. It falls out.
I think of the entire book, that's the part you can't get past.
I'm like, the ghost was gross, but can we talk about the tooth?
Can we talk about that
Oh my God.
But yeah, so Eden is almost at times seeking out this ghost
asking
and allowing
for her.
It to hurt her.
Yeah, to try to figure out the mystery.
What's going on with it. And at the same time, getting to know Delphine and getting closer to her, getting feelings for her.
Catching those feelings.
She caught feelings real quick.
Real quick and real hard, too. Like, I was just like, our arms are 6 inches apart. And you have freckles
intense
on your shoulder in the shape of a triangle, which, I mean, sapphic longing, it was off the charts.
Yeah.
Multiple levels, multiple sapphics in this book, because we haven't even gotten to like who the actual ghost is.
Yeah.
Or why she keeps coming back to Abigail House. But yeah, she's catching feelings for Delphine. They're trying to figure out what's going on. The more the ghost shows up, the more she can speak, the better, clearer she can speak.
It's like the ghost is getting healed as she's hurting Eden. So each time she shows up, she's a little less injured. She's a little more solid.
Right. Solid.
Appearing. Yeah. And
her bones aren't broken anymore.
Talk a little bit.
Right. So
better.
she starts asking for Grace.
Yeah.
So the ghost isn't Grace because she's asking for Grace.
Yeah.
She's like, where's Grace? Where's Grace? And Eden's like, I'm not Grace. I don't know who Grace is. Can you please stop breaking my arm?
So if you don't want to know who the ghost is, stop here.
Yeah.
We're about to get into that backstory.
All the spoilers. We've already spoiled a lot, but we're about to like spoil,
this is the big spoiler.
Everything.
So the ghost, they find out, is a former student who was kicked out named Maeve.
Yes, Maeve
And
Fairchild.
Grace was her girlfriend.
It was, yeah. And it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was in the 80s. It wasn't that long ago, but Grace's family did not want to have a gay daughter.
You actually find that out. Eden tracks down, in the process of trying to figure out the mystery of the drowning girl, tracks down Grace's sister and has a phone conversation with her. And she even says, I'm loosely quoting, that their parents would have preferred to have had a dead straight daughter than a live gay daughter.
Yeah, which is absolutely horrific. But that was how, I mean, some people still think that way today. So, but in the 80s, that's how they felt. And when they found out that there was a relationship going on with an older, and I feel like, I don't remember what the age gap was, but I feel like she was a freshman when Maeve was a senior.
Yeah,
something
I feel
like that.
sounds
I mean,
right,
it was like 3 or 4 years, but in high school, you know, I don't know. But they thought that Maeve was a troublemaker. They said that she
was corrupting
Grace and making their daughter gay, and they wanted to put a stop to it. So Jeffrey Oster, who is now the dean in present day,
was a teacher
at the time. And Grace trusted him and he was the one that she told that she was dating Maeve, and he was a safe adult for her. And you find out later it's because he is gay, and she knew that he was gay, and so she trusted him with that information. But he didn't really find out, but just started seeing that Maeve was in fact bad for Grace, that she was abusive and controlling and manipulative, and was isolating Grace from all of her friends, and they had planned to run away together. But Grace came to him and was trying, like I said, he was a safe adult, came to him and was like, I think that I don't want to be with her anymore, and I need help, and I don't know how to not be with her anymore.
And he wonderfully stepped in to help her. It did end tragically, which is how Maeve ended up being a ghost.
Yeah.
In the process of the confrontation the night that they were supposed to run away, they both end up in the Narrow.
Right. And, so Maeve they were supposed to meet at the Narrow and run away together. And Maeve shows these visions to Eden.
But from her
point of view, and leaves out the fact that Grace did show up that night.
Right. And Eden's led to believe through these visions and through some other interactions that Oster possibly is the one that killed Maeve.
Right.
And at least is a bad guy throughout this.
Yeah. So she has distaste and distrust with the dean because of the visions that Maeve has been showing her.
Yeah.
And she believes that he was trying to keep Grace and Maeve apart.
Yes.
And so when Maeve shows her the visions of him at the Narrow, he's saying, you need to leave her alone. You don't need to be with her. You're bad for her. And it's just Maeve, you know, professing her love and saying, we have to be together forever. Our love is wonderful. And you don't get to see that when Oster leaves, Grace shows up.
So this whole time, everyone's just thought that Grace had gone missing. Nobody knew where Grace was.
The sister was like, I hope that she's living a wonderful life somewhere, but I feel like she's dead.
She's dead.
Yeah.
But nobody really knew. Mm-hmm. And the visions that Maeve is sharing with Eden are only partial bits and pieces here and there. At the same time that Eden's developing feelings for Delphine, and they're getting closer, and Eden is talking and interacting with Maeve, the drowning girl, her friends are feeling like she's pulling away, which she is.
Yeah.
But they are pretty relentless in trying to pull her back.
And asking questions and like having little interventions. Like, where are you? Why are you not spending time with us?
And we're definitely led to believe, or at least I felt like I was, to think of them as like the mean popular girls, kind of. Veronica, especially because she was kind of like the ringleader. But Veronica showed up for Eden every step of the way. Mm-hmm. You could have not asked for a better friend.
Absolutely.
Than Veronica.
Well, okay, so let's talk about Little Vespers and Vespers.
Yeah.
This is a party that they have every year. All of the new students come for Little Vespers, and it's like an hour before the actual party of Vespers happens. And all of the friend group had volunteered to host it for the littles, and they each had like a swig of whiskey, like not anything crazy, not the littles.
It was like watered down too. Yeah. Like it wasn't even
not the littles, but the friends. Right. And so Eden has planned to sneak away to try to talk to Maeve again, because she's obsessed with figuring out what she is. And the friends find her at the Narrow after she has talked to Maeve and been touched and heard again. And they think that she's wasted because her concussion is back. And so she's slurring her words and she's falling over and she can't stand up straight. And so they all think she's wasted. They get her back to Abigail house and Veronica spends the night. And that's the night when Maeve comes back to Abigail house and she sees her. Veronica Maeve.
Physically sees Maeve.
She sees the drowning girl. And so she believes Eden. And so now Eden has her bestie on her side and it's like, it is a ghost and it is real and this is what's happening and you have to help me figure it out.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we got to tell our other friends. Veronica decides that they're going to have a seance because she's a spooky queen. You know, and so all 4 of the friends,
we love a witchy friend.
We love a witchy friend. Everybody's got one. Maybe you are the one. We love you. But
I mean, I've pulled a tarot card or two.
I mean, I'm gonna pull a tarot card every now and then. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be spooky. I'm not as spooky as I could be, but you know, there's always room for growth.
Facts. So but, they're gonna hold a seance because their goal is to help Eden
figure out
the mystery out, but do it in a way that maybe doesn't hurt her. And throughout the process of the friends helping her with this, she also starts opening up to them.
Yes, telling them the truth finally.
That she's been lying to them this whole time. What actually happened.
Because all of these wounds keep magically coming back. They don't understand.
Hurt.
Yeah,
they're like...
And they mentioned like, well, your arm was hurt when you came. And they noticed, but they didn't ask her about it.
Right.
You know? And then they keep getting re-hurt. And they're confused. And so they're obviously
Veronica
asking
actually
about
makes her go to the doctor.
And and her arm is fractured. Broken. Yeah. But so they think that if they have a seance and they call her there in a safe space, I guess.
Safe as a seance in a haunted school can be.
Yeah. Well, she drew a pentacle on the floor. And they thought it was going to be safe, right? And it was-ish. Safer-ish. I don't know. She kind of like possessed her for a minute, I think. And then Eden passed out.
But man, those friends believed what was happening.
Oh, they believed after that.
Which one is it Zoya that was like, nah, this ain't.
No, Zoya was like, I have a black grandmother and a Russian grandmother, and there's no way that I need to be talking to ghosts.
Like, and it was Ruth that was like, this isn't real. And then afterwards, she was like, this is absolutely real.
She was like, I'm so pissed off. Now I have to believe in ghosts.
I have to do a squirrel moment over here about Ruth, because Ruth is the one. When they were describing all the friends, that was the like very academic one, but could also just co-spy on her athletics.
Yeah, like she wants to go to the Olympics.
And this is a heavy book on so many levels. There's very little like lightheartedness that happens, but pretty early on there is a mention, like kind of a throwback, and they're talking about Ruth, and Ruth calls her Olympic sports the Trunchbull trifecta because she does shot put, javelin, and hammer throw. And immediately my little gay heart threw back to Matilda and the Gay Awakening. That was Miss Honey.
Oh, Miss Honey. Everybody loves Miss Honey.
If you're a millennial and Miss Honey was not part of your Gay Awakening, I want to know why that is.
Or who
I have trouble believing it. Yeah, who was it if it wasn't Miss Honey?
Yeah.
I still, to this day,
I'll
watch that movie and I'm just like, Miss Honey, swoon. So that was the only part in the book where I was just like, the rest of the time I was completely broken.
I don't think I was broken. I feel like, okay, we've just got to, we're babbling.
There's so much
to talk about. Okay, maybe we should have done this in 2 parts, but we're here.
You're here.
We're queer. We're going to talk about it. Okay, yeah. So fast forward, I guess. Yeah. They know that the ghost is Maeve. They know that Maeve is looking for Grace. We haven't told anybody in this podcast
that Grace has been there the entire time in Delphine.
Inside of Delphine. She's been possessing Delphine the entire time.
So when Delphine fell into the Narrow, Grace pushed her back out and was like sucked along with her, like
somehow. I don't think she didn't do it on purpose.
No.
She like accidentally possessed her, but then
I mean, like you do.
She's like, well, I mean, who doesn't get
accidentally possessed every
now and then? But she's like, oh yay, I'm not dead anymore. Yeah. Right? Yay.
And so then you've got Delphine, who doesn't know what's happening, doesn't know that this has happened. And you slowly, through little clues throughout the book, pick up on that Delphine's memories aren't necessarily Delphine's memories.
Or they're muddied. with Grace's memories.
And when she starts to remember things that aren't hers, it physically hurts her. Like she starts to drown.
Well, yeah, when Grace remembers that she's Grace and she's dead, she starts to drown.
And there's a whole thing about they were told that Delphine had a twin at one point. And you find out from a conversation with Eden and Delphine's mom that Delphine never had a twin.
And so she's known for years. The mom has known for years that
her daughter
figured
it out.
Yeah, that her daughter, but how do you explain that to doctors? Like, how are you
can't.
Hey, by the way, I think she's possessed by some river ghost. Can you get that out? Like, can we just is there surgery for that?
Is there a river ghostectomy that can happen? Thanks.
Do you know? Yeah, so like she's just having...
They did one of those on Grey's Anatomy, I'm sure of it. But yeah, so it took Eden a little longer to get there, but the mom has known the entire time.
And she's like, confirmed, yes. She's been possessed the whole time. And Eden's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? And also, why did you let me live in Abigail's house?
I've been looking for her, and she's been upstairs
the whole entire time. So, of course, they're not letting the water in because the water is Maeve.
Trying to get to Grace. Delphine.
Oh, my God. There's a lot. It's muddy, okay?
Yeah, and
it's
real muddy.
But, okay, so Delphine and Grace have combined. And
so
they
there's
are living...
third person
They're living like... They're coexisting together as Del, right? And
which is a nickname Eden gave her, and she's like, ooh, I like that.
Ooh, I like that. I'll be Del. That. And so Eden is in love with Del-ish. However,
she thinks it's Delphine.
However in love you can be in 3 weeks in high school. Probably deeply in love in high school.
At that point,
3 weeks is a long time.
I would have been ready to marry someone, I guess.
Eden is ready to jump into the fucking river.
They live together.
Yeah.
There's a thing.
I mean, she did get paid to live there, but okay, whatever.
So it was a paid U-Haul.
Right. But. So whenever Eden figures out, okay, Grace is Delphine. Delphine is Grace.
She's like, I just got to get these two together.
So she's like, okay, I figured it out. If you guys can live together in the same body, then maybe I can get Maeve to enter my body and we can live together in one body. And then Maeve can have Grace back and I can have Delphine.
Can we talk about her first thought was not to get Grace out of Delphine, but to give Maeve into her?
What the heck? Like, there's so much to unpack. There's not enough time in this episode.
So she figures it out. She figures out how to get Maeve in to possess her body so that
this is such a weird conversation. She figures out how to get Maeve into her body.
But she does, and her dream of her / Maeve living, happily ever after with Del / Grace is her plans like starting to go into motion. And that's when the book switches point of view
to Maeve.
But
right before we jump into Maeve, I feel like she goes down to the Narrow, she calls for Maeve, and she's like, why don't you just come into my body? We'll try to do this together. You can have Grace back. I can have Del. And then Oster shows up and is like, you don't understand. He sees Maeve. He finally sees that it's actually her, the drowning girl. And he's like, you don't understand. She was terrible to her. Finally telling Eden the whole story, the whole truth. And so Eden's like, oh no. Okay, no, never mind. Sorry, you can't come in here. And Maeve is like, nope, that was a good idea. And like jumps on in.
No takes back.
Yeah, no take backsies. You said I could come in for a free ride. So she jumps in her body anyway, even though Eden doesn't want to. And as soon as she does that, she completely suppresses Eden and is keeping her at the borders of her mind and is just in her body and is hiding it. And Oster doesn't know that she's done it. Her friends don't know that she's done it. She goes back to the room and it's so creepy and weird. And so you just get to hear this internal monologue of Maeve and like how she's having to pull memories from Eden's mind so that she knows who the friends' names are. And like, should I smile here? Oh yes, I should smile here. Should I embrace my friend? Yeah, Eden would do that. Like just digging through her memories, using anything she can. But the entire time, her whole motivation is to get back to Grace because she knows where Grace is now. Yeah. She knows that Grace is within Del or Delphine because Del is the culmination of the two. You know what I mean? And so she goes to sleep and the next morning wakes up and she is annoyed with the friend group because they are impeding her journey to Grace. And she gets overwhelmed and she yells in third person instead of first person.
And the friends are like,
and the friends are
"What?"
like, what? Excuse me? She's like, you don't even like her. You don't even want her. You just want her to be a lackey to the friends. And so the friends are like, wait, you're Maeve. And they figure it out.
I mean, props to them. They figured it out pretty quick.
Really fast, because why would she be speaking in third person? But then like immediately think, oh, well, obviously she's possessed, of course. But because this book is wild, Maeve is like, okay, this is how things are going to go down. Because if you don't do what I say, then I'm going to hurt Eden because I'm in her body and you will never get her back. I want Del. You're going to go get her and bring her to the Narrow. So she sends Veronica and Ruth to go get Grace, Delphine, you know, that. She goes to get her. She sends Veronica and Ruth to go get Delphine/Grace and bring her down to the Narrow. Zoya goes with Maeve/Eden to the Narrow to wait for them. When she shows up, Grace has remembered. Grace is there, and Grace tells Maeve, I'm not going back into the water with you. Like, I loved you, but I don't love you.
And you find out that she showed up after Oster left the night that Maeve went into the Narrow, and you find out exactly what happened, which is she was trying to break it off.
She was hurting her. She was abusing her physically, emotionally.
Grace. And Grace went there not to run away with her,
but to tell her that it was over,
and realize that Maeve was never going to
let her go. And she said that, I'll never let you go. I will never let you go.
And she didn't, because Grace pushed her in the Narrow.
Grace shoves Maeve into the Narrow, and Maeve catches her arm and never lets go and pulls Grace in with her. So both of them died that night, and they've been stuck in the Narrow until Delphine fell into the Narrow.
And Grace
saved her from the Narrow and jumped into her body. So Grace is like, I'm not going back in there. Now that I know who I am, I can survive this way. Like, I don't want to go back into the dark with you. I'm not doing it. And Maeve is not okay with that and says, either you go back with me or I'm taking Eden with me.
And I just realized something that I don't think we've talked about in all of our talking about this book beforehand during recording.
Okay.
Is that Grace was like, I can figure out a way to live outside of the Narrow. I don't want to go back. Maeve never mentioned doing that. Maeve never was like, I'll just stay out.
Well,
too.
She does talk about it. She says Grace and Delphine have created Del.
Right. She talks about it
she says, I can never do that. I can never intermingle with Eden. I will always fight and claw for the surface. I'll never be able to coexist with someone else.
But her overarching solution is to get her and Grace back into the Narrow,
back in the water.
Basically. Yeah.
Which is, why would you want to go back to the darkness if you could figure out a way to live in the light? Which makes me think about one of the quotes that I highlighted, and it's from Maeve's point of view, and she's talking about Oster and Madeline Fournier. And I mean, honestly, this is not just talking about them, it's just talking about humanity in general. It says, they're staring at their own reflections on the surface of the water and imagining they can see its depths, but living in the light blinds you. It's only looking up from the darkness that you see the true shape of things. Which is just beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, because it's like you don't know how good you have it until it's gone, or you don't know what happiness feels like until you aren't.
Yeah. And that actually kind of ties in to a quote that really stood out with me, because I think out of this entire book, the biggest takeaway for me was Eden's journey, her mental health journey through all of this, through where she started, where she was in denial basically about her family situation and the abuse there, and hiding it from all of her friends and lying to herself and to everyone else about it, to by the end of it realizing not only what's been happening and admitting that, but realizing what's been going on in her own mind. And it takes her friend Zoya actually points it out, and Eden later on is kind of thinking on it. And she says, I don't know how to believe what I know to be true when my mind keeps insisting that I am alone, that I should be alone. Zoya said it so casually, you're depressed. Is that the name for this feeling? This endless drowning deep. And I know from personal experience in dealing with depression, it's not easy to identify in yourself most of the time. You don't really understand. You just know you have these feelings, and it does feel like drowning sometimes. It does feel very dark, and it almost is like you said, you have to get to that dark place to see the light on the other end of it. And that journey is so hard to do. And watching it being played out in this book really struck so many chords with me on my own journey. Having someone else point it out to you and not knowing that you're depressed. I had a guidance counselor in high school look at me one day and say, if you don't figure this out, I'm going to have to call your parents. And I was like, what? Figure what out? I don't know what you're talking about. And so I just was like, okay, well, I can't act like this. I'm going to fake it and be happy. And then she won't know the difference. And I did. And it wasn't until way later into adulthood that I started to unpack what was actually happening. And that was that I was depressed.
Yeah.
And so seeing that in Eden and watching her go through that journey at kind of a similar, maybe a little bit younger, but similar, age to me was very hard, but also therapeutic.
Yeah. Well, it always feels better to see yourself reflected in somebody else. It's to see yourself reflected in humanity in general. Nobody wants to feel alone.
And that's what depression, for me at least, feels like a lot of times, is that you are completely and utterly alone.
Yeah.
And so her feeling like that and then realizing that she's not through her
friendships
was also so beautiful.
Especially, like coming clean and telling them all about all of the secrets that she's been holding and fully expecting them to be like,
to just walk away.
I don't want anything to do with you. You've been lying to me for years. And they were the complete opposite. And honestly, it was more of like a hurt on their part and like feeling that she didn't trust them with that. Yeah. Like, I'm more upset that you didn't trust me with the real you or trust you with all these big things. Like, just because you have you have trauma or you have things that we might have to deal with, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be friends with you. Yeah. Like, we want to carry your baggage too. That's what friends are for. Like, we're here to shoulder the burden when you can't carry it anymore.
And coming to a point where you actually believe that, because hearing it is one thing,
right?
But believing that is scary and hard, and it's a hard place to get to, but it is the best thing in the world to be able to be your true self, even if you think that self is broken or not fun to be around, and have someone be like, that's okay.
That's okay.
I want
I'll
that
sit
part
with you
of
there too.
Yeah. Is one of the most touching and loving parts, I think, of a friendship that could ever happen.
And all three of her friends were that. And all of her friends were there with her, supporting her on the riverbank, witnessing Maeve and Grace have this conversation about how terrible their last night was together, how they've been stuck in the darkness forever. And when Maeve threatens Grace with taking Eden with her back into the Narrow, Grace makes the decision, no, I'll go back with you. You can't have her. And Maeve knew that because she knew that she was compassionate and she knew that she wouldn't let her take Eden in her place. And she said, okay, I'll go back with you. I only have one request and you have to let me say goodbye to Eden. So you have to let her come to the surface, basically. Yeah. And so Maeve relents and says yes. Eden comes to the surface and she's like, where am I? How am I on this riverbank? I've only seen snippets of this. She's been so suppressed. And Dell is there and she's like, thank you so much for all of the time that we've had together. I really did love you. This was beautiful, but I'm going to go back to the Narrow to be with Maeve because she's trying to take you away and that's not okay. And Eden,
self-sacrificing
Eden says, I love you to Dell, and then looks at her friends and says, I love you all, and then turns around and jumps in the river. Just jumps in the river.
I think I threw the book down for a second at that one. I was just like, no.
Like, I of course she did.
Yeah.
Of course she did. But at the same time, she does not value herself at all if she's going to throw her life away so that someone else can live. Like, I feel like
a dead girl can live.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yes, exactly. So I need to talk about when she goes into the Narrow, it goes black. She isn't in the river anymore. In her mind, she is in the pool house.
At her parents'
house, which is where this traumatic event where she got so harmed happened.
Which she's had flashbacks to.
And nightmares. She keeps going back to this place because she keeps revisiting that trauma. We find out earlier in the book that her brother is actually the one who hurt her, and her parents covered it up, and her parents told her, you can't tell anybody because he's on probation, and if you tell anybody, he's going to go to jail, and he wasn't in his right mind. He was on drugs, and this is just another moment
that they've always used.
Another moment where they're perpetuating this addiction, and they're making sure that Luke is okay and that Eden is not taken care of. And so, I mean, like, putting off her plane ticket so that her bruises can heal more before she goes back to school, so nobody would, just covering it up.
Yeah.
And so
she's back in the pool house.
in the pool house in the dark, and Maeve is there, right? And so this whole conversation with Maeve in the pool house while she's drowning in the Narrow is so eye-opening, and I am not making any excuses for the terrible person that Maeve is, because she has been a really terrible, abusive, horrible, obsessive person. She is the villain, but
she made so much sense
in this. Eden says, I'm dying. And Maeve says, you jumped into the Narrow, princess. Of course you're dying, idiot. And Eden, I had to stop you. I just couldn't sit by and do nothing. Not like with Dylan. Not again. Idiot, Maeve says again. You didn't do nothing. You did the only thing that mattered. You survived, whatever it took. It's everything you did after that was surrender. You keep quiet. You played nice. You destroyed yourself for everyone else's comfort. And you've done it again. Eden says, that's not what I did. Maeve, martyring yourself is a hell of a lot easier than standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
Whoa. You killed yourself to save a girl who was already dead. How does that make sense? Okay, a ghost is saying this to her.
Okay, this very much a villain, not good human being now turned ghost.
Right?
Is making the most sense of the entire book. Right here.
I know. And then Eden's, Dell's not dead. Okay. Maeve says, Dell isn't Dell. She's 3 people and 2 of them are going to die tonight. Whatever happens, you chose to let Dell live, which means Grace and Delphine don't exist anymore. Not really. At least if you'd let me take back Grace, everyone would be back where they're supposed to be. The living and the dead. Again.
Facts.
So much freaking sense. This girl is just like, you're dying and you're dumb and you jumped in.
You sacrifice yourself for a girl who's already dead.
Yeah, right.
That may be one of the most powerful lines of the entire book.
Right. And then she says, it doesn't matter anymore. You did it. Surrendered to your suffering. And Eden says, sacrifice isn't the same as surrender. And then Maeve says, a real sacrifice has to be something of value. You don't think you have any.
And that is 100% true.
Right. She goes on to talk about you didn't even fight the current. You literally just jumped in the river and let it suck you down. You're like, I'm going to die. I'm just going to jump in here and die. And having a conversation like this with a ghost while you're dying. Okay. Otherworldly, but also that whole conversation had to happen because that's the moment when Eden's like, I don't want to die. And she starts fighting.
Maeve just gave her years of therapy.
And it's a near death. Yeah, this is like a near death experience that all these people come back and they're like, I know all the secrets of the universe. Eden has been given the keys to the kingdom. You know what I mean? She feels
just has to go through the door.
She just has to go through the door, go to the light. But in this instance, the light is a good thing and not a bad thing because she swims out. She's fighting. Grace is in the water. Grace has come back in the water. She helps her get out. It's all good. In the end,
Maeve tries to fight it, but gives up and lets Eden go.
Yeah, she lets her go and
get out of the water.
Yeah, so full circle. They're back. Grace and Maeve are back in the water. Eden has regained just her self-worth and her value and wants to live and loves her friends. Delphine is Delphine again.
Delphine's cured. She can leave the house.
She can leave the house.
Die.
Yeah.
She also doesn't really have any feelings for Eden anymore.
Sad. I almost cried at this point. I don't cry in books often, but I almost cried at this point just because she threw herself in a river for this girl, part of this girl. And then she's like, I loved you. I can feel that I loved you.
But it wasn't me.
But it wasn't me, and I don't. I can feel that, and I know that I did, but I don't.
It was at this point that my heart broke a little bit for Eden because of everything that she'd been through to save this girl, and it wasn't even the girl that she was in love with.
Right.
The girl that she was in love with was a ghost.
Or part
of
both.
Ghost, part, yeah.
Just
but it wasn't
mind
Delphine.
meld, yeah.
Also, to me, throughout this entire book, Delphine has dressed like a child. We've covered that. But also been emotionally or socially stunted, which makes complete sense considering her situation.
Yeah.
But I felt was very mature in this last conversation, the way that she handled that.
Yeah.
With Eden trying to be gentle, but also be like, listen,
Boundaries.
that wasn't really me.
Yeah.
And so I mean, props to Delphine.
Bravo. It was heartbreaking.
It was very well written.
And Eden took it very well. I mean, I feel like it was expected, honestly, because she knew that she was in love with 2 people at the same time.
Now, I will be completely honest in the fact that there were so many twists and turns in this book. And I really like to pride myself on figuring things out before they actually like are revealed. I didn't see most of this coming.
Yeah.
Especially the very end of it. I put the book down fully expecting there to have been another scene where like you figure out Maeve's still in her or somebody else is in her. I didn't expect Eden to come out of the water just Eden.
Just Eden.
I was like expecting there to be like a last line that's like, haha. And I mean, it makes sense that there wasn't, but at this point I had been put in the emotional whirlpool so much that I was like, this can't just end. There's more to it. But
well, I feel like it ended so well because we do have that we have the closure scene with Delphine, and we also have the closure scene with Grace where she goes back down to the Narrow. Right. Grace isn't in the water. She's on the edge, and she and Eden jump the Narrow together. And when Eden lands on the other side, Grace is gone. Yeah. And she's not back in the water, and her presence is completely gone. And so you get that closure because you feel like Grace moved on.
Grace did. Yeah. Grace is now wherever Grace went after this.
And Eden isn't going home. She's going to go with Veronica. Everybody, it all wrapped up beautifully.
It was a great, great ending.
It could have been left. It could have been left as a thriller.
Thrown around so much at this point. I was expecting like one more hit.
One more stab.
one
Yeah.
more.
No, I love the way it ended. I feel like it was
so
so beautiful. But the whole journey was this book was so layered, and I feel like you could just read it as a surface level, like boarding school spooky book if you wanted to. But there's no way that it isn't 10 times more than that.
And we've only touched the very surface of...
Pun intended.
Yes. Of
this was not a deep dive.
Hey. But... yeah, there's so much more that you could uncover in this book that we did not have time to touch on. So real quick, just to wrap it up, ratings, there wasn't any spice. Overall rating, I would give this one, I mean, it's like a 4.75 to me. It's real close.
It's almost a 5 for me too. Like I feel like it's a 5. It's a 5 for me.
Yeah, it's a 5.
It's a 5 for me. It's YA. Like I don't have to. It doesn't have to have spice for it to be a 5 for me. It's definitely. I've read this book. This is the second time I've read it, and I will probably read it again. And like I said, I love Kate Alice Marshall. Like she can do no wrong for me, and so
I have already recommended this book to people. I will probably read it again. Yeah, it's a 5.
Yeah.
It's so good on all the levels. Definitely read it if you haven't already, which you know, all the spoilers now. So thank you so much if you're still here listening to us talk.
Because we've been babbling.
Thank you so much for still sticking with us. We love you, everybody, for your support.
Speaking of support, next month's book, if you want to read along before we yap and tell you all the spoilers like we did on this episode, is Learning Curves by Rachel Lacey. It's an age gap romance. It's got academia. It's set in Vermont, grumpy sunshine. I've already started it and I am absolutely loving it. And I know that you guys are just going to eat it up too. So read along with us, and that episode will drop on November 1st. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, we love everybody.
We love you all. See you next time.
Bye.